Within the rhythm hearts of Afrobeats lies a tale untold, with the echoes of music intertwined with the ancient struggles between good and evil. Welcome to The Devil in Afrobeats, a documentary that dwells deep into the foundations of music, exploring its roots in biblical narratives, the enigmatic presence of Satan, the fallen angel, and the destructive impact of his musical gift on this world. Join me on a journey through history and melody as we unravel the intricate connection between spirituality and music and the pervasive influence that is beyond cultural boundaries. Discover the forces that have shaped the sonic landscape, questioning whether the divine artistry has been corrupted by the very essence that once soared in heavenly realms. Join me as we peel back the layers of melody and rhythm, exploring the spiritual dimensions of music in Afrobeats. Question for you: are you dancing to the tunes of divine inspiration, or have you been corrupted by the discord orchestrated by the fallen angel? Brace yourself for a documentary that will change and challenge your perception and unravel the mystery behind The Devil in Afrobeats. I welcome you in this documentary, The Devil in Afrobeats. This is a documentary that has been ignored by many viewers, many believers across the globe. It is a difficult and a challenging one because a lot of people are entangled, deeply rooted in love with the genre. However, as children of light, we are obligated to reveal the hidden darkness that is keeping millions in bondage. So in this documentary, I will expose the works of iniquity, the works of Satan in the music of Afrobeats. And before we dive into it, I'd like to lay this foundation that I'm not coming from a position of hate. I do not have anything personal against any of the individuals presented in this documentary. With that being said, I would like to invite you to put on your spiritual discernment that you may be able to comprehend this documentary. See you at the other side. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty, darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. These verses suggest that before the act of creation, there was a formless and an empty state. The description of darkness over the surface of the deep implies a state of void awaiting for the creative act of God. The mention of the Spirit of God hovering over the waters signifies the imminent beginning of the creative process. Before every deity there was a divine contemplation, a timeless meditation on the essence of creation. The universe, like a blank page, awaited the inscription of existence. The Spirit of God, like an artist poised before a blank canvas, prepared to weave the tapestry of reality to give form and substance to the void. Before the inception of time itself, there existed a realm untouched by mortal comprehension, a celestial canvas upon which the divine script of creation would unfold. At the genesis of all things, God, the omnipotent architect, reigned supreme, the very essence from which the cosmos would draw its breath. In this ancient expanse, angels dance in harmonies, bearing witness to the majesty of the Creator. As the cosmic symphony progressed, the celestial ballad welcomed the advent of creation, a cosmic masterpiece meticulously woven into the fabric of reality. The majestic tapestry extended into threads to embrace the birth of humanity, a crucial chapter in the grand narrative of existence. Endowed with the divinely imparted breath, humans emerged, entrusted with the profound responsibility of stewardship over the terrestrial realm. And so the sanctity of worship arose, a response to the divine presence that permeated the cosmos. From the grandeur of celestial sphere to the terrestrial life, worship became the universal heartbeat that resonated through the very core of existence. Lucifer in heaven. The origin of Lucifer and the corruption of music. In the vast tapestry of existence where the threads of spirituality and creation intertwine, there exists a story that transcends time itself. Today we embark on a destination to unravel origins of Lucifer and the profound connection between music and worship in the spiritual realm. In the realm beyond our comprehension where celestial beings dwell in perfect harmony, music was not just an art form but a primordial force. It echoed through the cosmos, a symphony of praise that resonated from the very core of existence. Among the celestial host, Lucifer, the morning star, stood as a radiant being of unparalleled beauty and wisdom. Endowed with the gift of music, he led the heavenly choir in worship, creating celestial melodies that echoed throughout the spiritual realm. However, within the brilliance of Lucifer's light, a seed of pride took root. His unparalleled beauty and musical prowess fueled the desire for worship directed towards him. Rather than the Creator, Lucifer in his arrogance sought to elevate himself above divine order. Lucifer, now consumed by pride, orchestrated the rebellion against the Creator. His celestial choir joined him in a cacophony of defiance, turning the harmonious melodies of worship into dissonant notes of rebellion. The once sacred music became a tool of corruption, a discordant anthem of disobedience. The Creator in his infinite wisdom cast Lucifer and his rebellious followers out of the celestial realm. The once harmonious music turned into an haunting echo of their fallen from grace, a reminder of the consequence of pride and disobedience. As Lucifer descended to the earthly realm, he brought with him the corrupted essence of music. Here, he sought to continue his rebellion by influencing humanity. Music was once pure expression of worship, became a tool of manipulation and darkness. Lucifer's influence on humanity. In the dawn of human existence, a profound shift occurred, an echo of celestial events that would shape the very core of human nature. As Lucifer, the morning star, fell from grace, his rebellion cast a shadow that extended far beyond the celestial realm. With his descent to the earth, a new chapter unfolded, intertwining the destinies of humanity and the fallen angel. As the fallen angel roamed the earthly realm, he sought to extend his influence, wavering his corrupted essence into the fabric of human experience. Lucifer, once the conductor of celestial melodies, now sought to orchestrate a discordant symphony within the hearts of the first human inhabitants, Adam and Eve. In the Garden of Eden, where the harmony of creation resonated, Lucifer set his sight on manipulating the very essence of worship. Adam and Eve, ordained with the purity of innocence, were entrusted with the divine gift of free will. It was within the choice that the fallen angel saw an opportunity to sow the seeds of rebellion once more. With cunning whispers, Lucifer exploited the vulnerability of human curiosity and desire. The tree of knowledge stood as a testament to the delicate balance between obedience and temptation. The serpent's hiss and sinister melody slid through the garden, enticing the first humans with the promises of the enlightenment of the autonomy. In the pivotal moment of choice, Adam and Eve succumbed to the lure of the forbidden knowledge. The act of disobedience marked humanity's departure from the harmonious worship of the divine. The once pure connection between the Creator and His creation became tainted with the discord of sin, echoing the fallen angel's rebellion. With a newfound awareness, Adam and Eve experienced a profound shift in consciousness. The purity of worship transformed into a struggle for redemption, a journey marked by the tension between divine connection and human frailty. The fallen state of Lucifer reverberated through the ages, leaving an indelible mark of the human spirit. As humanity multiplied and spread across the earth, diverse cultures and civilizations developed unique expressions of worship. The echoes of Lucifer's fall manifested in rituals, myth, religious practices, shaping the intricate relationship between humans and the divine. Worship became a reflection of the ongoing struggle between obedience and rebellion, purity and corruption. Through the eons and the narratives of the fallen angel, disobedient humans and the quest of redemption became woven into tapestry of human history. The melodies of worship once resonated in perfect harmony now bore the complex codes of humanity's collective journey, a journey influenced by the fallen state of Lucifer. the choices of Adam and Eve, and the enduring pursuit of divine connection in the face of earthly challenges. In the grand narrative of human existence, the fallen angel's legacy endures, guiding the trajectory of worship through the intricate interplay of choice, consequence, and the eternal quest for redemption. As we continue to dive into the depth of this documentary, we'll begin to unpack the hidden mysteries and the influence of Satan in modern culture through the sounds and the melody of music. Bear with me, remain focused as we go into depth. The first section of the video, we are able to cover the foundations and how Lucifer was a created being who was ordained to orchestrate worship in the eternal realms of eternity. And in the foundation, it's important for you to have the understanding, because without the foundation, you won't be able to comprehend the following videos. Like a house, you need to establish a proper foundation. So in the first section, we are able to cover up a solid foundation, so that the next chapters of this documentary will make more sense and will bring forth enlightenment. So the first chapter is done, and we are about to dive into the historical and the truth of African music. You will see how Satan was able to invade African music, invade African culture, and corrupt African music for the glorification of sorcery and witchcraft. If you've made it this far, I applaud you, because it's gonna be a bumpy ride. Stay with me as we unravel the truth behind Afrobeats. God bless you. African music and spirituality. As the sun rises over the vast landscape of Africa, a myriad of rhythms and melodies begin to echo through the air. In this segment, we embark on a captivating transition to unravel the profound connection between African music and spirituality. The influence of Lucifer's fallen state on African music unfolds, a nuisance tapestry woven through the diverse cultures and histories across the continent. African music, with its rich rhythmic patterns, melodic expressions, and spiritual dimensions, have been shaped by both indigenous traditions and external forces. The impact of Lucifer's fall, though subtle, has left its imprint on the spiritual and cultural evolutions of African musical practices throughout time. From the rhythmic drummings of West Africa to the melodic chants of East Africa, we dive into the richness of musical traditions that have been interwoven with spiritualities for centuries. Our journey begins at the heart of sacred rituals and ceremonies, where music became a bridge between the earthly and the divine. The soul-stirring rhythms accompanying initiations and rite births, celebrations and funeral processions. Each beat tells a story, echoing the spiritual journey of an individual within the communities. In West Africa, the talking drums rise to prominence, transcending the percussive nature. These sacred instruments are not merely carriers of sound, but are believed to convey a message from the spiritual world. Listen closely as the rhythm becomes a language, speaking of ancestors, traditions, and the interconnectedness of the living and the departed. Across the continent, dance is a sacred expression of spirituality. In vibrant costumes and rhythmic movements, communities come together to worship, celebrate, and commune with the divine. The dance becomes manifestations of joy, sorrow, and a profound connection with the spiritual realm. African music is a healer's melody, offering peace to both body and the soul. Through the ancient practice of using specific rhythms and melodies, communities believe in the power of music to bring about physical and spiritual healing. In many African societies, music has always been deeply intertwined with spiritualities. Rituals, ceremonies, and communal gatherings often features intricate drummings, chantings, and dancing. Lucifer's influence steeped into these rituals, altering the intentions behind the music. What was once pure worship became, in certain instances, a means of seeking power, a connection with the supernatural that deviated from the original reverence of the divine. During the colonial era of Africa, external forces introduced new elements to African music. Missionaries and colonizers brought Western instruments and music styles intending to Christianize and civilize populations. The collisions of these Western influences with traditional African music created a dynamic interplay. Lucifer's impact manifested in the struggle between the sacred and the profane. As the rhythms of melodies adapted new influences, sometimes losing their original spiritual significance. In the post-colonial era, African music underwent further transformation with the advent of the modernizations and globalizations, urbanization, and the rise of popular music genres, and the influence of the Western pop culture brought new dimensions to the African musical landscape. Lucifer's fallen essence found expression in themes of materialism, hedonism, and individualism that occasionally permeated contemporary African music. Despite these influences, many African communities have maintained a deep spiritual connection within their music. Various movements and artists have strived to reclaim the purity of African music and resist the secularizing forces. Traditional instruments and rhythms continue to be utilized in ceremonies that celebrate spirituality. Afrobeats, a vibrant, influential genre, emerged in the late 1960s and early 1970s in West Africa. These musical styles is a fusion of various traditional African rhythms, high life music, jazz, funk, and the political consciousness of its time. The origins of Afrobeat is closely tied to the visionary Nigerian musician and political activist Fela Kuti. Fela Kuti, born in Nigeria in 1938, was a musical prodigy who studied music in London and later fused his formal training with the rich indigenous sounds of Nigeria. His early works were influenced by high life music, a genre popular in West Africa, characterized by upbeat rhythms and fusions of traditional and Western musical elements. The true genesis of Afrobeat, however, occurred during Fela's visit to the United States in the late 1960s, inspired by the Black Power movement and the music of African American artists like James Brown. Fela began to shape a new sound that would later be known as Afrobeat. This genre incubated complex rhythms, jazz improvisation, and social consciousness lyrics that addressed political and social issues. Upon returning to Nigeria, Fela formed his band, Africa 70, and began to refine the Afrobeat sounds. The music was characterized by extended instrument sections, intricate horns and arrangements, and lyrics that criticized political corruptions and oppression. Fela's lyrics were often explicit, challenging the status quo and advocating for social justice. Afrobeat quickly gained popularity, not only for its infectious rhythm, but also for its bold political statements. Fela used his music as a powerful tool for activism, prompting the Nigerian government to react. The Fela Kuti Republic, Fela's communion and recording studio, became a center for political dissent, leading to numerous clashes with authorities. In essence, the origins of Afrobeat is a testament to the artistic and political vision of Fela Kuti, who sought to create not just musical genre, but a movement that would challenge societal norms and advocates for the liberation of African people. Today, Afrobeat stands as a vibrant and enduring musical legacy, celebrated for its infectious energy, cultural richness, and its ability to transcend geographical boundaries. Fela Kuti was born into a Christian family. His parents were Reverend Israel Oludutan Ransom Kuti and Fumilayo Ransom Kuti. His father was a minister and a school principal, and his mother, Fumilayo, was a prominent feminist and political activist. Growing up, Fela was exposed to Christianity and its influence through his family background. However, as Fela matured and developed his own beliefs, he began to distance himself from organized religion, including Christianity. In the 1970s, Fela underwent a transformation and his views on spirituality evolved. He became critical of the Christian and Islamic institutions, seeing them as a tool of colonization and oppression.
Christianity and Islam, they are only artificial religions, artificial. And the reason why Islam and Christianity is spread all over Africa, we know, is to exploit the people. All Christians think like white, like European, like English and Americans, and all Muslim people think like Arabs. So they're just diverting the African minds from their roots, that's all, And Africans must know. You see, they must have the original one. And somebody must spread the knowledge of this. And I think I have the knowledge.
The whole thing is that this world is a world of higher forces, and people must realize it. And you do it by yourself, in your home, by knowledge of your culture, or your background, your family, or your people. It's not because Christianity or Muslim. They are the same people.
When Fela began to preach a return to traditional religion, it was in search of a deeper African identity. It was a cultural provocation, an intellectual move. But in the spring of 1981, the spirits really visited Fela's house.
Fela started exploring and incorporating elements of traditional Yoruba spirituality into his life and music. Fela's rejection of institutionalized religion was not just a personal choice, it was also a part of a broad critique of social political structures in Nigeria. He believed that institutions, including organized religions, played a role in perpetuating the social and political problems he sought to address through his music and activism. His spiritual journey therefore led him away from the Christian upbringing, and he found a deeper connection with the traditional spiritual practices of the Yoruba people. This shift in spirituality is evident in his music, the establishment of African shrines, and his outspoken criticism of religious and political authorities. While Fela Kuti was born into a Christian family and initially had exposure to Christianity, he later distanced himself from organized religion, embracing elements of traditional Yoruba spirituality as a significant influence on his life and musical expression. Fela Kuti, the legendary Nigerian musician and political activist, was not only a musical icon, but also a spiritual figure deeply connected with African deities. Born on October 15, 1938 in Nigeria, Fela Kuti was the pioneer of the Afrobeat genre, a fusion of traditional African rhythms, high life, jazz, and funk. Beyond his musical contributions, Fela's ties with deities, particularly the Yoruba pantheon, played a significant role in shaping his identity and influencing his life. At the core of Fela Kuti's spiritual connection was a rich tapestry of Yoruba spirituality. The Yoruba people, an ethnic group predominantly found in Nigeria, Benin, and Togo. They have a complex and a nuanced belief system that includes a pantheon of deities known as Orishas. These deities are known as manifestations of Supreme God, Olodumare, and each Orisha governs specific aspects of natural and human realms. The Yoruba people believe in the interplay between the physical and spiritual world, and their religious practices often involves the rituals, ceremonies, and invocations of Orishas. The Yoruba people believe in the interplay between the physical and spiritual worlds, and their religious and practice often involves rituals, ceremonies, and the invocations of Orishas. The Yoruba people believe in the interplay between the physical and spiritual worlds, and their religious practice often involves rituals, ceremonies, and the invocations of Orishas. Fela, being of Yoruba descent, was exposed to the traditions from an early age and incorporated them into various aspects of his life, including his music and activism. Fela's most famous venue, the African Shrine, was not merely a musical space but a spiritual one as well. The shrine became a sanctuary for the expressions of Afrobeat, social consciousness, and the invocations of spiritual energies. Fela referred to the shrine as the Kuti Republic, drawing inspiration from the Yoruba and African spiritual practices to create a space that transcends the conventional boundaries of music venues. The shrine was not just a performance venue, it was a communal gathering where Fela and his followers celebrated Yoruba deities through music, dance, and rituals. Fela's performances often began with the invocations, paying homage to various orishas and seeking their blessings for the gathering. This spiritual dimension added a profound layer to Fela's concert, transforming them into a transcended experience that went beyond mere entertainment. Fela Kuti's activism against corruption, political oppression, and social injustice was deeply intertwined with the spiritual beliefs of the Yoruba traditions. Fela often claimed to receive guidance and protections from deities, particularly Ousha, the trickster deity, and Ogun, the warrior deity. These divine affiliation gave him the courage to confront oppressive regimes and challenge the status quo fearlessly. In the face of numerous arrests, harassment, and even brutal attacks from the Nigerian military in 1977, Fela attributed his resilience to the protections of the Orisha. His ability to endure persecution and maintain his musical political pursuit in the face of adversity was, in his view, a testament to the divine forces guiding and shielding him. Even after Fela Kuti's passing in 1997, his spiritual legacy endures. The African Shrine continues to be a space where musicians, activists, and spiritual seekers convey to celebrate the interconnectedness of music and spirituality. Fela's influence has transcended generations, and his fusion of Yoruba spirituality with activism has inspired artists to rethink the way they approach music. Fela Kuti's ties with deities, particularly within the framework of Yoruba spirituality, were a fundamental aspect of his identity and artistic expression. The influence of this spiritual connection inspired his music, activism, and the communal gatherings at the African Shrine, creating a holistic and a transformative experience for both Fela and his audience. Fela Kuti's journey serves as a testament to the enduring power of music and spirituality. Fela Kuti, the iconic Afrobeat pioneer, was known not only for his groundbreaking music, but also for his fervent devotion to the Yoruba deities. In the vibrant streets of Lagos, his shrine stood as a testament to his spiritual journey, attracting followers and curious souls alike. Fela's worship centered around deities like Oshun, the goddess of love and fertility, and Sangon, the god of thunder and lightning. His belief in the power of these ancient forces was unyielding, and he often attributed his musical success to the blessings bestowed upon him by these Yoruba gods. However, as time passed, whispers of the negative influence of Fela's spiritual practice on a younger generation began to circulate. The shrine, once known for artistic expression, gradually morphed into a symbol of excess of hedonism. Fela's worship of deities took a darker turn, with rituals that bordered on the occult. Many argued that the youth, captivated by Fela's charisma and musical genius, were being led astray by a lure of a spiritual path that seemed to promise success but leading on a highway of deception. Fela Kuti's spiritual journey was deeply intertwined with Yoruba cosmology, where deities served as a conduit between earthly and divine realms. And at the core of his beliefs were the worship of Oshun, the goddess of love, fertility, and rivers, and Sangon, the powerful god of thunder and lightning. Fela attributed most of his success to the blessings and guidance he received from these supreme Yoruba deities. Oshun, often depicted as a nurturing and benevolent force, was regarded by Fela as a source of inspiration for his melodic and soulful compositions. The goddess of rivers was believed to bring prosperity, and Fela felt a deep connection to her, believing that her influence enhanced his creative abilities. The rhythms of Oshun flowing waters were thought to echo in the beats of Fela's Afro genre, providing a mystical and undercurrents to his musical expression. Sango, on the other hand, represented a more dynamic and forceful aspect of Fela's spirituality. As the god of thunder and lightning, Sango symbolized power and authority. Fela, in his pursuit of a bold and a revolutionized musical path, saw a reflection of Sango's fierce spirit in his own work. The thunderous beats and electrifying performance that defined Fela's Afrobeats were in his mind a manifestation of Sango's divine energy coursing through his music. The ties between Fela's success and his spiritual practice were strengthened by the sacrifices he made in honor of these deities. Rituals involving offerings and food, drinks, and symbolic items were commonplaces to Fela's shrines. These offerings were seen as an exchange between the earthly and spiritual realms, a way of Fela to express gratitude for the divine inspiration he believed he received. However, as Fela's fame grew, so did the complexity of his spiritual practices. The sacrifices, once simple and symbolic, began to take on more elaborated and to some controversial form. Fela's critics argued that the sacrifices became excessive, bordering on the extravagant, that they fueled the perception that success can only be attained through esoteric rituals rather than hard work. Fela himself, however, maintained that his sacrifices were essential to maintaining a connection with the deities who fueled his creativity and success. He saw himself as a vessel for their divine messages, a conduit through which the gods spoke to the people. In the end, the intricacies of Fela's spiritual journey added a layer of mystic to his persona. While his music spoke volumes about social justice and political activism, his devotion to the Yoruba deities became a subject of both fascination and controversy. Whether viewed as a profound expression of cultural identity or criticized as a potential distraction for the youth, Fela's spiritual practice left an indelible mark on the perception of his legacy. Fela's source of inspiration through demonic transition.
The whole thing is that this world is a world of higher forces, and people must realize it. And you do it by yourself, in your home, by knowledge of your culture, or your background, of your family, or your people. It's not through Christianity or Muslim. They are the same people.
When Fela began to preach a return to traditional religion, it was in search of a deeper African identity. It was a cultural provocation, an intellectual move. But in the spring of 1981, the spirits really visited Fela's house. Since this revelation, a dialogue with the other world takes place every day. At the shrine, around 2 in the morning, right in the middle of the show, Fela suddenly asks for silence and performs a rite on behalf of the main Yoruba spirits, Shango, Ogun, Ifa, the same great spirits that are found in America, in Voodoo, in Afro-Cuban and Brazilian cults.
One of the key ways Yoruba spirituality manifested in Fela's music was through his use of traditional Yoruba rhythms and chants. In songs like Water No Get Enemy and Suffer and Smiling, Fela incorporated polyrhythmic patterns and call and response vocal remnants of Yoruba musical traditions. These elements not only contributed to the infectious grooves of Afrobeats, but also served as a bridge between Fela's contemporary sounds and the ancient rhythms of his cultural roots. Beyond musical elements, Fela often referenced Yoruba deities in his lyrics. Olukan, the Orisha of the sea, was a recurring theme in Fela's work. In Yoruba cosmology, Olukan is associated with wealth, beauty, and the mysteries of the deep. Fela's fascination with Olukan can be seen in a song like Lady and Expensive, where he used Olukan's symbolism to explore themes of power, corruption, and societal excess. By invoking Sango's fierce, thunderous qualities, Fela not only expressed his anger and resistance, but also drew upon the power of this deity as a symbol of strength and resilience in the face of adversity. Fela's bold incorporation of Yoruba spirituality into his music was not without controversy. In a predominantly Christian and Muslim Nigerian society, his overt reference to the traditional deities challenged the religious status quo. Fela, however, remained unapologetically, using his platform to champion African culture, pride, and resist against external influence. Fela's political activism was deeply intertwined with his spiritual beliefs. His iconic Kalakuta Republic, a communal residence and a recording studio, was named after the spirit of the black cat in the Yoruba tribe, believed to possess mystical powers. Fela saw Kalatuka as a haven for the free expression and resistance against oppressive regimes, blending his spiritual conviction with his commitment to social and political justice. Fela Kuti's music stands as a testament to the seamless integration of Yoruba spirituality into the fabric of Afrobeat. Through rhythm patterns and lyrical reference and the symbolism of Yoruba deities, Fela created a musical language that celebrated his cultural heritage and challenged the so-called political landscape of his time. Fela's legacy extends beyond music, and he remains an enduring symbol of artistic innovation, culture, pride, and fearless resistance, but was deeply inspired by deities. African mythology in the light of biblical truth. African mythology spans a multitude of cultures, each with its unique sets of deities, spirits, and myth, and they all play an important role in shaping the worldview. From the Yoruba tribe of West Africa to the Akan in Ghana, these mythology reflect the cultural richness and the spiritual diversity of the continent. While these belief systems have an intricate value for their communities, a critical examination prompts us to be considered on how Christianity will impact this worldview. In approaching African mythology from a Christian standpoint, the Bible serves as the foundational text that guides believers in the matter of faith and practice. The Bible consistently calls for the discernment and urging followers to test spirits, evaluate belief system against biblical truth. In 1 John 4:1, believers are admonished, "Beloved, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits to see whether they are from God. For many false prophets have gone out into the world." This call to discernment encourages Christians to critically evaluate the beliefs they encounter, recognizing that not every spiritual path aligns with the teachings of the Bible. This prompts an exploration of whether the devised narratives of African mythology harmonizes with the monotheistic principles and moral foundations of Christianity. Approaching African mythology from a Christian perspective requires a careful balance between cultural sensitivities and adherence to biblical truth. The Bible acknowledges the diversities of human experience and cultures, but it sets clear boundaries for faith and practice. Christians are called to engage with other belief systems respectfully, yet the challenge lies in discerning where cultural appreciation ends and potentially spiritual compromise begins. While the Bible encourages discernment, it has also emphasized the importance of engaging in dialogue with those of different faiths. The Apostle Paul in the book of Acts 17 urges us to engage with unbelievers, to introduce them into the light, into the truth. In the exploration of African mythology, parallels can be drawn between certain moral themes and values expounded in the Bible. Many African myths convey lessons about morality, justice, and consequence of human actions. However, critical examination also reveals potential inconsistencies with Christian principles, especially concerning the natures of deity, salvation, and the understanding of the divine order of God. African mythology, with its intricate cosmology and diverse pantheon, possess a complex terrain of critical examination. Some elements of African mythology may align with certain moral teachings found in the Bible. The fundamental difference is the understanding of the divine and the path of salvation required careful consideration. In critical examining African mythology through a Christian lens, the call for spiritual discernment becomes paramount. The Bible encourages believers to engage with diverse belief systems, maintaining a steadfast commitment to biblical truth. Fela's engagement with deities is an abomination against the principle of biblical narrative. It's important for us to state that any interaction with deities outside the name of Jesus is an abomination to a holy God. Therefore, I call and urge believers to be very cautious of what they consume and who they listen to, because not everyone that you listen to is inspired by your Heavenly Father. Many have subjected themselves to spiritual deities that bring them in captivity to deceive the mass and lead them on a highway of deception. As we continue into this documentary, we will begin to identify and to highlight the influence of Fela's music in the new generations of Afrobeat artists. We will begin to tie the knot and bring everything into a conclusion. So prepare yourself as we enter into the third segment, which will be the final segment of this documentary. And we will tie the knots and we will be able to identify the inspiration of Fela Kuti in the lives of the new Afrobeat artists. Stay tuned.
And Fela said, music is spiritual. If you play with music, you die young. That's how deep he saw it. There's a reason why he saw it like that. And why he said that. You understand? And I spent my whole life looking for the reason why he said that and what it really meant.
Music is a spiritual thing. You don't play with music. If you play with music, you will die young.
You know how sometimes we take a broad stroke and we put everything under Afrobeat.
So it's not meant. That's not as meant to be.
Yeah. So talk to me, bro.
That's actually the Fela Kuti is the real originator of Afrobeats. Afrobeat is a kind of African music. Do you understand? It's a certain kind of like sound,
Right. Okay.
which was mostly done by Fela Kuti.
I know that name.
Yeah, Fela Kuti. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Legend.
This means so much, seeing Afrobeat grow this big and being here on this stage representing Afrobeat tonight. I'm so happy. But one thing I will not forget to do tonight is forget to shout out the people who opened the doors for me. Big shout out to Fela, who started Afrobeat in the first place. You know?
Now talk to us about this tattoo that you got of
First one? Which one?
no, you have many, don't you?
Yeah, I do have
Fela Kuti.
Fela, yeah.
And that is something that you have in common with Burna Boy, who was here a couple of weeks ago, by the way. Yeah.
Burna's my guy, man. My blood.
So why have that tattoo? In fact, where is it situated, actually?
Somewhere my buddy.
Somewhere where?
Just right here, my own.
Oh, we need to take a picture of that. We'll take a picture of that.
Yeah, Fela is a big inspiration to my music. You know, he's a very, 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 very like musical person. He started a whole sound, like his own sound, like even when it wasn't making sense, you know. And this music is still there, like for generations to come. Like we're still listening to the music, we're still vibing to the music. Like, he's a great guy, and what he stood for as well, and what he used his music to do, because it was passing like some really, really serious messages.
Yeah, so this is Fela Kuti, Fela Kuti. That's him here as well. It's like my hero, you know. It's like the best musician that ever lived. And then under it says Oyejo, so that's like the nickname that Fela and my granddad used to call each other. That's cool. Then I have the Pablo playing, the
It's like, you know them playing.
You see, because when the higher forces give you a gift of music, musicianship, it must be well used for the good of humanity. If you use it for your own self by deceiving people or doing this, you will die young. You see, and I've told people this many times. So I'm going to prove them wrong and prove myself right. Because now I'm 44, I'm getting younger. Because I'm doing it right. I can play music for 10 hours. I'm never tired. I'm getting younger because the spiritual life of music that I've led rightly is helping me now.
It is obvious that Fela's influence has generated throughout generations. That's how you see countless Afrobeat artists giving credit to Fela. The danger is that Fela's spirit will continue to follow these artists. The music that Fela once created was inspired by demonic entities, and that spirit will continue to follow these artists. That is exactly where the danger is.
London, I fucking love you tonight for rocking with me, man. No worries, I brought more friends for you tonight for being loyal to me. I brought more friends for you tonight.
I'm on a village, them know they see. Say, I'm on a village, them know they see. I'm on a village.
If you know you are feeling me, if I say ah, you say Ashake, ah. It be like say I no do enough, and I no shout enough. If I say ah, you say Ashake, ah. Mr. Money with the vibrant. Mr. Money with the vibrant.
You know, man, I wanna live your life. Things are just today, very, very. I know I go lie, they never see them. Booty, 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 booty. Your booty, they make my life. I never started. Baby, I know I'm living like Woody. But I don't go to the guy too. Everybody, let's go.
When the source is coming from a demonic entity, do not expect something glorious or something pure to come out from it. Fela Kuti was clearly inspired by demonic forces to carry out an agenda that will impact the generations. And that same spirit is still moving through his music. And that spirit is working through the artists that look to the inspiration work of Fela. Am I saying that Fela did not make good music? Definitely not. He made some tremendous and magical sounds that will entice the ear. However, Satan is able to use resources for the benefit of expanding his own kingdom. But he could use music and create a perfect sound to lure people into deception. So yes, Fela might have been a man that stood up for righteousness and justice of the liberation of Nigeria, but the devil comes as an angel of light, and at the end of the day is here to deceive you. So Fela had good intentions, but the truth is that his intentions were not inspired by God. His intentions were inspired by demonic entities using the good for the greater cause of evil. There is nothing good will come out when you look to a man that has submitted his life to demonic deity. The spirit that that man carried is the spirit of darkness, and that spirit continues to move through these artists. That is why when you look at the music, lyrics that they write, the art that they display, it all has to do with the kingdom of darkness, nothing to do with the kingdom of light. So Davido, Rema, Wizkid, and many others are following that same spirit that Fela had. They're following that demonic spirit that inspired Fela to make music that will resonate with generations. That spirit is working through them. That spirit is committed to bring forth a deception through the sounds and the rhythm patterns of Afrobeat. And yet many will continue to argue that it's just music, it's just entertainment, beloved. It is through the gateway of entertainment the devil will penetrate hearts, leading thousands and millions into the highway of deceit. And finally, where your soul will be corrupted, and there will be an eternal separation from you and God. So entertainment is the tool that the devil will use to penetrate and to bring forth the confusion, that you won't be able to identify the truth because you are lost deeply in sin.
Money on my mind. Don't care what they yarning about me in particular. Out here on the road chasing my dream because I know. One la de mango molo. Borokoto idi shamalo. If you want to let you come alone, no to find anybody, no money I want. But they hear waiting people they talk. But you get a shakality love. This is life when I want no get another one. I go take and do waiting I love, waiting you love.
When we're speaking about global influence comes from two sources. It's either God gives you the ability to be effective on a global scale to push and further his agenda, or it's either the devil gives you a global influence to push and further his agenda. Nobody can achieve global success without the supernatural abilities of deity pushing them and giving them such influence. We see the scenario between Satan and Jesus. Satan told Jesus, if you worship me, I shall give you all the kingdom of the earth. This shows us that the devil has authority upon this earth. The devil has the ability to give man kingdoms if man will bow down and worship him. So when we're talking about global influence has two sources. It's either God Almighty or it's either the devil who gives you the influence. So how do you identify whether God is the one that inspires you with global influence? How do you identify whether Satan is the one that inspired you with global influence? Global influence from God will be built upon the foundation of expanding his kingdom, uplifting his name, glorifying him through the works of the Holy Spirit in your life. Global influence that comes through the power of darkness will elevate darkness, will push the demonic agenda that will eventually lead populations, millions, generation upon generation on the path of deceit and destruction. So as we see the rise of Afrobeat, do not be too excited because this is not just an ordinary thing. There are many things that are happening behind the scene, spiritual forces that are working behind the scene to bring forth this awakening. The rise of Afrobeat is the beginning of deceit and deception. The devil will definitely invade Afrobeat to push his demonic agenda. He will use artists just like he's been doing for many years. Artists are a definition of communicating and brainwashing agendas. If you look at our societies, our celebrity, our artists have been used to push agenda. The devil's going to use Afrobeat artists to push agendas that will lead generations on the highway to hell. And as much as I'm African and I'm proud to be African and I want to see Africa advance, do not get me wrong. I'm all for the advancement of Africa. I'm all for the empowerment of my black people in Africa. But if empowering black people means that we need to compromise morality, then God forbid. If the success of Africa comes with the price of leading generations on the highway to hell, then God forbid. I will not submit to the ideology that if we compromise morality, Africa will rise. I refuse to submit to that ideology. If Africa must rise, it must rise the right way. Morality being at the forefront, that we are not forced to disobey the commandments of God, all in the name of entertainment. So I will rejoice when I see Africans rising, but I will not rejoice when I see Africans rising and at the same time promoting immorality. And the rise of Afrobeat is a great promotion of immorality. The immorality that we were able to see through hip-hop and R&B is slowly and eventually drifting into the Afrobeat industry, and they are beginning to create music that will intoxicate the minds of the youth, to pervert them, exposing them to witchcraft, wickedness, demonic spirit that will bring forth wicked agendas, bringing forth rebellion in the nations and society. So I cannot celebrate the rise of Afrobeat knowing that Afrobeat carries a message that will pervert a generation. I cannot celebrate the rise of Afrobeat knowing that the artists are pushing immorality, filth, destruction, and deceit. Why should we celebrate immorality? Because artists like Wizkid, Davido, they are all making music that is leading young people to the pit of hell, glorifying sex out of marriage, glorifying the sexualizations of black women, the consumption of weed and alcohol. They are promoting the wicked way of life which God opposed, and we call ourselves to be believers and Christians, and we are supporting these artists. You cannot be a Christian and be comfortable listening to Davido. You cannot be a Christian and be comfortable to listen to Rema. You cannot be a true Christian and be comfortable to listen to the Afrobeat artists without no conviction. Because if you just listen to the lyrics that they are writing and exporting, these are sexual perverted lyrics that are pulling you away from the will of God. So you cannot claim to love Jesus and you still love Davido. You can't claim to love Jesus and you still love Wizkid. You can't claim to love Jesus and you still love Burna Boy. No, it does not go. You need to make a decision. Are you going to serve God completely, or are you willing to compromise just to keep your idols? And many Christians, thousands if not millions Christians, have enslaved themselves to these idols, and they're not willing to let go because you've idolized these artists. But today I'm here to call you into the light. The light is Jesus, and Jesus is calling you today to come to know Him in greater intimacy. Christ wants you to break free from the bondages of Afrobeat, the sounds of wickedness, the sounds of perversion. Do not get me wrong. Music was created by God, and God created music for the glorification of His name. And we were called to use this gift to glorify the name of God. Is it wrong to listen to secular music? Is it a sin to listen to secular music? It depends what you mean by secular music, because there are some secular music that have good and positive messages. And I'm not condemning those secular music. I'm condemning secular music that promotes fornications, that promote adultery, that promotes idol worship. These are the secular music that we need to turn away from. They need to be a line that is drawn. You cannot continue to be a Christian and you're consuming music that is against the word of God, music that opposes the will and the commandment of Jesus Christ. My friends, wherever you are at, I call you today. I pray that this documentary will open your heart to see the reality and come to the full knowledge of Jesus Christ. Because music is effective and music is powerful. The Bible tells us that David, when he played a sound that King Solomon was delivered by demonic entities, we see that music is effective. The type of music you listen to will influence you. Do not allow the sounds of Babylon to lead you astray. Do not allow the music of this world to drift you away from the promises and the riches of Christ. So I plead with you, beloved, from the depth of my heart. I plead with you from the depth of my soul. Come out the deception. Turn away. Repent from your sins. Submit unto the eternal forgiveness of Jesus Christ. For Jesus is calling you today. And he's stretching out his hand. And he's saying, son and daughter, no matter how deep you've fallen into, no matter how deep you find yourself in sin, if you stretch out your hand, I shall pull you out. Jesus is knocking at your heart right now. Would you be willing to open him? Would you be willing to open your heart for him so that he may enter into you and have a covenant of life with you? How long will you continue to compromise? How long will you continue to be lukewarm? For God is calling you to a place of intimate relationship. So it is my desire that you reflect and understand that you cannot love God and love the world. You need to make a decision whether you will love God and hate the world. That line has already been drawn by Jesus Christ. Thank you for tuning in and watching this documentary. This is the first part of this documentary. I will be making an extended part. And in the extended part, we will go even more deeper to expose these artists that have affiliations with demonic entities. I'll begin to expose the artists of today's time that are sending out a message of deceit and deception. Stay tuned for part 2 of this documentary. We will go deeper and deeper into the devil in Afrobeat. And I'll begin to expose more wickedness and the deception that is happening upon the rise of Afrobeat globally.